Thank you for watching, liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing right now. Hello world, I'm Chris Pirillo, and you're watching another episode of CPU, which is short for Chris Pirillo. You decide what the U is short for because you are the only U I care about. I also care about museums and Star Wars. So imagine just how happy I was to find out that this was happening in my town. As soon as I found out they were having a grand opening party, I bought tickets for Rebel, Jedi, Princess, Queen, Star Wars, and the Power of Costume. The schedule for a Friday evening was packed, and they had plenty of activities for kids and adults. Even if you weren't able to make it to the grand opening, it's okay, because this is a traveling exhibit. And of course, before leaving, I went to the museum gift shop and picked up a small Vader haul, including this luggage tag, this mug, the expressions of Vader, and for a few dollars more, I picked up this Star Wars Marvel 001 variant cover. This one, exclusive to the museum, and it's already worth 3 times the amount I paid for it. If you're wondering what happened when my dad and I went, let's begin now.
You know, the thing is, when you've been involved for so long as I have, you suddenly realize you're telling the same story that you've told, in this case, nearly 40 years, except it's true, and except there are people in front of me now, small people, young people, babes in arms, who've maybe never heard these stories, yeah? So forgive me if you know that my agent said there was an American who wanted to see me because I was an actor who was good at mime, and he wanted somebody to play a robot in a star in a sci-fi movie, and I said no, and she said, Mr. Stupid, kind of meet him, you never know what he could turn into. And as I say, if you press the button in the exhibit upstairs, I'm getting very bored with listening to myself, believe it or not. But I tell the story of how, when I met George, he was very nice, but even more important for me was Ralph McQuarrie's painting, and that I fell in love with the character. Yeah? And here I am, 40 years later in Seattle. The really astounding thing for me, I talked about Ralph McQuarrie's famous painting, and it is in the exhibit at the far end for various reasons. Do go and look at it, look at the face, because that's what I fell in love with. And then, of course, the process of molding my body to make a statue, for Liz Moore, the sculptor, to create a 3D image of that 2D image. And she did it perfectly. She made a face that looked like that painting, that allowed me to put emotion on. George had asked her to use Art Deco type styling because why not? It was time out of place. It was a weird reference to something we know about, but it kind of was in the wrong place. So it gave him a history, if you like. We didn't know at that point he was going to be built, of course, by Anakin years later. But there were historical influences that came from George's experience in the art world, because from very early on, George was an art lover.
You know, I've always admired those people who have those great skills of putting sets together. And so we had actual, the Millennium Falcon. I found myself wanting to visit. I mean, this is not so much about show business as it was about just visiting those young people who were working for George, who were not show business people, but were technicians. And I always wanted to go back and see what they were doing. You know, you can define it in many ways, but in my mind, there is still an interesting kind of mystery about all of it. You know, it doesn't seem to me to be an accident, this experience. And it's an experience, I think, it transcends everything on this planet. It goes, obviously, it's in the ages. I really wanted to create a bigger-than-life kind of character. You know, I never approached him with the whole idea of race or ethnicity. I really just wanted to display a kind of my own unique, what I consider my own unique point of view about an interesting, dubious kind of character.
For the next couple of minutes, over the footage I recorded here in the exhibition, I'll be narrating because the audio that was recorded on site included music that I am not licensed to rebroadcast. You might also know that some other footage, including some close-ups of these costumes, are included in an earlier Pirillo vlog, the corresponding vlog for the day that we went to the exhibition. I went with my father, who, in that vlog, explained that we saw Star Wars within the first 2 weeks of its initial run. This brought back so many memories, seeing these costumes up close and personal. There were times that I found myself putting the camera down and just looking and taking it all in, thinking that these were the very same things that I saw in the movies that I loved as a child, and I'm starting to get warmed up to the prequels after reading the Star Wars Ring Theory. This, you might know, is a traveling exhibit, and I was surprised to find out that Seattle was its launch city. I'm kind of honored, even though I had nothing to do with it. I only found out that it was happening 2 days before it happened. It was a good mix of costumes from the prequels as well as the original trilogy, and I found that I completely walked past Jango Fett and Boba Fett, so I will be returning at some point in the near future before it leaves. You might remember a couple of years ago I recorded another video in this channel covering the Science of Star Wars traveling exhibit, and that was fun, but the highlight of this particular show was being able to see Anthony Daniels and Billy D. Williams up close. And I gotta tell you, Anthony Daniels, or as they introduced him as Antony Daniels, was warm, charming, funny, inviting, and he really went overboard to make everybody feel welcome, especially the kids. And I, even as an adult with a kid inside, really appreciated it. I do wish I could have lingered a little while longer at each point during this tour, but I understand they were shuffling people through at a rather rapid rate, given that this was a grand opening. And while I know it would be impossible, I kind of wish I could have touched some of these articles of clothing. The entire experience was amazing, all the way from the costumes to the gift shop, which was radically transformed into a Star Wars merchandise paradise, which naturally I took advantage of, at least as far as a few new Darth Vader items are concerned. If I was disappointed about anything, it would likely be not being able to spend enough time there, and also not being able to connect with fellow Star Wars content creators. Oh, there's my dog Wicket. As I said, if you're interested at all, you should absolutely check out the other videos that I've done in relation to this exhibition or the other one. And I don't think there's any signs of me slowing down. I'm very happy to return to this particular exhibition. If you want to see something at a different angle, maybe more up close, in a way that I didn't cover it in this video or the other videos, just let me know. I honestly can't imagine a time at any point in the future when Star Wars would not be culturally relevant. It's now a part of our society. It's touched so many lives, and I think will continue to do so. Do you agree?
Why did I want to get into acting? For no good reason other than that it was in my soul. I had no idea. I mean, some people want to be, what do you call people who do feet? Podiatrists. Why? Have you smelt people's feet? Why would you want to do that? But some people are drawn to it. I have no good reason to want to be an actor. It's a really stupid thing to want to do. And if you want to do it, you can't help it. You have no choice. And it is, what's the word of vocation? It's a calling. If only I'd been called to be a brain surgeon or something similar, something useful, something, I don't know. But I always only ever wanted to act. And of course, you know, my parents put up with it for a while until it became serious. Like when I was 19 actually, up to then. And then they said, well, you know, why don't you be a lawyer? And I went, oh, okay. And I stuck that for 2 years. I was so utterly miserable. And eventually time passed. And the thing that changed my mind, and this can happen to any one of you, even now, you will meet somebody. You will meet Obi-Wan Kenobi. In my case, who will change your life. In my case, it was in an amateur dramatic theatre, a quarter the size of this room. And one night, one of the cast, the people, members, there was a teacher. I said, I wish I was an actor. He looked at me and said, well, if you want to be an actor, be an actor. I need you to stop clicking now, or I'm going to take your camera and I'm going to do awful things. As I was saying. Yes, I am being here with you close up and personal, and all you can do is point a wizened little screen at me, and later on look at some out of focus, distant picture and think, I wish I'd been there. The fact is, you are. Now, look at this. The doors are locked. The doors are locked. There is no escape. No escape for the princess this time. And no escape for you either. Look at it. It won't take long. It won't be painful, but it'll be better afterwards. So that's how I started out. As I said, if you have a real need to do it, then go and do it, because try it with all your heart and with all the effort. We had this huge read-through for episode 7, and there is Mark, there is Gary Harrison, etc., and lots of new people that I didn't know. And I thought everybody kind of mumble their lines, because not wanting to give a performance. It was phenomenal. It was like a radio play. It was stunning. And I will tell you that the most stunning, frankly, was Harrison Ford. It was like he'd never stopped being handsome. I was just smiling at him. You wait. You remember these words.
We had a galactically good time. And again, if you're interested in seeing more of what we saw, check out my corresponding Pirillo vlog. If you know of any other museum exhibit that I might want to visit, let me know. But at this point, I'm going to leave you to your own devices.